All right, I just had to show you this real quick. So that's my bitmap that I created for the background on the screen. That is the Python code that I wrote and will paste down in the description. It's a mere 30 lines of code, and it generates a beautiful header file just like that. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Daily IoT. I didn't come up with anything better, so I'm gonna go back to calling it Daily IoT because it's been pretty daily. Posting updates about the hockey puck product journey that I'm on, trying to take this thing to the next level and going through all the learning that is involved in that. And so the last part of this that I've been working on is trying to get back to feature parity that I had with the GPL version of the screen library. Remember a couple episodes back I talked about how the original prototype I made of this, that's sitting right here, the screen code was something I found on GitHub that was under the GPL license. However, if I use that, the whole project has to be GPL, and I hate that idea. And so I've been working on this code from scratch, got into debugging and all into the bowels of that process. But we've come out on the other side, which is super exciting. And I've got now, in addition to the text that I was showing, I can also print images. And this was, again, the original background for Flurry that I put on the screen before filling the stats in right there. And so getting that back, the only thing I have left on the screen code is the partial update. So on these Epaper displays, there's a full update, which the screen flashes and then redraws. And then there's a partial update where you can just update a section of the screen and it looks more like you would expect from an actual screen where things are changing without it flashing or flickering and doing things like that. And so I just have to program that piece of it. I don't think it should be too hard, fingers crossed, but that's where we are at. And to get to this point, last night I spent several hours messing around with Bitmaps and learning all about that. So the way that we do this is I just have a bitmap image. It's a 200 by 200 pixel screen. So I create a 200 by 200 pixel image in GIMP that's got, you know, like the little flurry and the GAA and save percentage and wins. And then I need to turn that into something that I can then write into the RAM that is on the actual screen. And for that, I've been using a program that converts bitmaps to header files. And so it takes the bitmap and generates a header file of a bunch of hexadecimal numbers that then I can store in the program memory of the particle photon and then write directly to the screen. Well, that utility is Windows based. And so the way I've been doing this on my Mac is I have a Windows virtual machine running Windows 10 that makes it sound like my Mac is gonna take off like a 747 every time I launch Windows 10 in a VM, just so I can take a bitmap, dump it into the VM, run it through the converter, and get this header file back out, which is not something that I love. And so as I'm sitting around last night, I wanted to see what other options there were. I thought, how hard could that possibly be to write? And so that's what I did. I sat down and I spent a couple of hours last night writing a utility in Python. I will put it up probably just as a gist. I don't think it needs its own repository on GitHub, but it's like 29 lines of code that is, again, written in Python that will take a bitmap and turn it into a header file that I can include in my project and then create this as the output. And I learned all sorts of things about how grayscale works and color and depth and how the pixels are represented in bitmap. And I went through several iterations of the code where I was getting stuff to print on the screen, but it wasn't quite right. And there were some holes, like clear pixels. And I learned about how you have to translate RGB values into just single on-off pixel values and all sorts of great learning from that. A lot of fun. It was a lot to go through, but it was awesome when it came out working on the other side. And so at the end of the night last night, late into the night, early morning hours, I was able to get this beautiful image, I don't know if that's going to focus or not, onto our display using my own bitmap to header converter code as well as my own screen code. So I'm really excited about that. I feel like the project's coming along very nicely given the amount of time that I can spend on this every single day. And so that's it. That's the update for today. I'm going to work on the partial update next so we can get really full screen feature parity to the old GPL library. And then we should be good to go to jam on this back to where it was before, updating stats and add that extra layer of polish that you would expect in a product. So that's the update for today. I appreciate everybody watching. If you have any comments or feedback, I would love to hear it down in the comments below. Again, I apologize I'm not showing, like I'd love to do an episode dedicated to the Bitmap converter, but I don't have time. Like I love working just on this and making lots of progress instead of stopping and making these long videos. So if you have questions, like I said, I'll post a link in the video for the gist that has the converter. It is raw, like it is not, I mean, it suits my purpose specifically, but it's something that you could take and you could enhance and use it in your own projects. And at the very least, you could use it to create data that you could put onto this Epaper display if you were to buy one. So thanks so much for watching. I hope everybody has an awesome day, and we're gonna go back to the old outro. Thanks again for watching Daily IoT, the show where together we're learning how to make the Internet of Things one day at a time.